Good evening. Well, there's a generally held perception that orphans should be in orphanages. We don't believe that. If you ever ask an orphan where they want to be brought up, they'll say, I want to be brought up in the love of a family. And Open Homes for Children is dedicated to getting children out of this sort of place. This is a ghastly institution in the center of Belarus. There are some children in the top floor. Believe it or not, today there are still 1.3 million children living in state orphanages in Central and Eastern Europe. And most of them shouldn't be there at all, because actually the majority of them have got living parents. What Open Homes for Children does is to work with the governments in these countries to persuade them that we need to change mindsets. We've got to get these children into homes. And where we can, we return them to their birth parents, or else we put them into members of extended family, or as an alternative, we set up a culture of fostering to get kids like this away from this ghastliness and away from the fact that at the moment children coming out of institutions, 1 in 6 will commit suicide before they're 25, 1 in 4 girls will go into prostitution, and 2 out of 3 of these children are the children of women who themselves were brought up in institutions. There's that terrible cycle. And we're now the leading organization in showing governments that there's a much, much better way. These are some sweet children who came out of a ghastly institution in Romania, and they're now in a small family home for a period of months before we can find a suitable foster placement for them. And now we've suddenly flipped to Ukraine, and this is a foster family. You can see a multi-ethnic family. In fact, 2 of those children are the birth parents of the wonderful foster parents. The 2 little girls at the front with flowers in their hair, their father was an alcoholic and murdered their mother, as a result of which he was sent to prison for life, and they were dumped in an institution. And thank God we got there before they'd been there for very long, and have now got them into this fantastic, loving situation. It's challenging work, but it's extraordinary what can be achieved, and we show governments how to do it. We show the models, and then governments will replicate them right across the country. Well, we work in 5 countries in Central and Eastern Europe currently, and another 5 countries in Africa. And the problems for children in Africa, so many of them becoming orphaned and families falling to pieces because of war and extreme poverty, and of course HIV and AIDS, and therefore the need for our services is enormous. This young boy at the back is a chap called Vusi in South Africa. He's got 4 younger siblings. His father died of AIDS about 2 years ago, and when I met him last September, he told me that his mother had died in July last year of AIDS. And you know what? Her body lay in one of the 2 rooms of their hut for 5 weeks before anybody would come and do anything about it. And it still cracks me up talking about it now, because the stigma against AIDS is so huge that the people living around them didn't want to have anything to do with that family. They turned their backs on them. Here is the house, you can see it now. Open Homes for Children in a short time has given these children medical and looked after their medical and their psychological health. We've got them their parents' death certificates and their birth certificates, so they've got the legal right to this place. We're feeding them properly. We've got them back into school, and the father, the head of the family, Vusi, is now a trained mechanic bringing in money. These are some other children. All of these kids here, their parents have died of AIDS, and they're all head of their family, and they've formed a self-help group. They call themselves the Survivors, because they're determined that they're going to go out and show other people that life is not just desperation. There is hope, there is possibility. Income generation is hugely important to us. These are some mothers learning craft skills so that they can go out and sell these crafts in the market to make money so that they can keep their children at home. And this is a wonderful young chap called Lorient, and this is in Rwanda. Again, he's got 3 younger siblings. Both parents had died. He was only in our program for about 18 months. We've got the family back on their feet, children in school, they're all healthy. And Lorient said that what he really wanted to do was set up a market stall, and we gave him a loan to help him to do that. And here's Nick Hewer, one of our great supporters. visiting Lorient in his market stall, and Nick was so impressed by him that he said if he'd been on The Apprentice, he'd have got our investment every time. And after 18 months, as I say, they've been through our program and they're back on their feet. Now, one exciting thing is that because of our expertise in closing institutions, we've been asked to go to Khartoum by UNICEF, Save the Children and Médecins Sans Frontières to help them to close a terrible institution. This is in a refugee camp in Omdurman, just outside Khartoum. The institution is a notorious baby home called Mygoma, and when we went there were 2,800 abandoned babies with a mortality rate of 75% every year. 2,200 babies dying in that place every year. And we've now worked with the government and the religious authorities. We've issued 2 fatwas and we've set up 3,000 foster families. And this is a new foster mother who's just collected this little sweetheart from that terrible baby institution and is going to look after her in the future. The key thing is to change mindsets and to show that there is a much better way of dealing with these things. We couldn't do our work if it wasn't for crazy people like our host this evening. Not content with cycling around the world to raise money for Open Homes for Children, he still does this sort of thing for us. I think you'll agree with me that in his case the evolutionary chain is a short one. We need supporters. We need your support. Please don't ignore the bits of paper on your table. Please come and speak to me. I'm going to be here all evening. There are some other members of staff who saw you in and who are around. We've got the wonderful London support group here this evening, always looking for new volunteers. So we'd all love to be able to give you a little bit more information. Don't forget about us. Look us up on the web, www.hopeandhomes.org. Thank you very much indeed.